Hey guys, Nina from Dragon's Garden here. I received a lot of questions about making in the hoop charms from my patterns, so here is a more detailed tutorial about it. For this tutorial I'll be using my Hamtaro charm pattern and walk you through the steps with some tips. I will be speeding up the embroidery process to save some time for this video. The first 3 steps are covering applique, and for that I made an in-depth video covering it, which you can actually find in a link in the description below and also on the top of the screen. I will just fast forward the first steps of making, stitching and cutting the fabric for applique itself, and jump onto the finished embroidery of details. This tutorial applies to all of my charm patterns, regardless if they are using applique or not. For charms without the applique, you can just ignore the first 3 steps of this video and continue with embroidery of the face and details, and then focus on what's represented in step 8 and on in this tutorial. There we go! All the main embroidery is finished, and now we can continue with the next steps. The first thing you want to do here is to remove the top stabilizer. It will not be needed anymore, and this is way easier to get it out of the way before adding the ribbons. Because of the already stitched applique, it's easy to see the edge of where to put the ribbon, so make sure you have a long enough piece for the keyring. My keyring doesn't have an opening to attach the ribbon later, so I'll be adding the entire keyring onto the charm, making sure that it's far away from where the machine foot will go, in order to not interfere with it. Grab a piece of tape in order to hold it in place. This is all the tape you need for now. Now you can stitch the line over the ribbon to secure it. Make sure to put the embroidery foot of your machine higher under settings, just to prevent anything moving or getting caught. Then let the line stitch over the ribbon to secure it. If there is no ribbon marking in the pattern itself, I will show you how to use the outline to do the same trick by just skipping some stitches. This is the same way I attach labels to all of my plushies. I want to have the label attached on the side of the charm, So I'll skip the outline stitch until I'm somewhere around this position. This is where I want my needle to be. The label is going to go in like this, so what you want to do is stitch a line around here to see how to position it better. Because the outline of the applique on this charm shows nicely where to put it already, it will be easier to see here. If you have a simple one with no markings or other stitches, this is a nice way to help you align any labels, ribbons, or any other things you want to add to the pattern. When your needle is in the desired position, go ahead and let it make a few stitches, then stop the machine again. Now we have a line on the side to show us how far to place the label. You can tape it down and skip the same stitches backwards in order to let the label be secured. Go a few stitches back and let the machine stitch out about the same piece of the outline as you did before, then stop it again. You can go ahead and remove excess tape. You need to make sure the keyring doesn't move, so you can tape it down securely. For the next step, you have to take another piece of fabric to use for the back of your charm. This one is going to be orange, and you have to sandwich it with the good or the fluffy side of the fabric facing down. Make sure to cover the entire design with enough fabric so there will be no gaps in the outline. Tape down the fabric so it will not move while being stitched down by the embroidery machine. Don't forget to bring the stitching of the outline back to the start of the step. And keep the embroidery foot high up while stitching, just like you did with the ribbon and the label. This prevents the machine foot wrinkling or moving the fabric along the way. If you want to keep the outline open for easier turning and stuffing, you can just stop here with the embroidery and skip the last step of the pattern. You can go ahead and remove the stitch charm out of the hoop, and we'll proceed with removing the stabilizer, cutting, and then clipping the fabric. Cut along the outline, but make sure to keep at least about 5 mm or 0.1 inch of fabric all the way around the charm. You can keep a little extra around the opening if you wish so. Now you have to clip the corners of the charm to keep it wrinkle free after turning inside out. I made a different video explaining why this is necessary. You can find it linked in the description below or in the corner above. Now it's the time to flip the charm inside out via the opening. I use my Hemostats to do that. I have another video on it linked where you can see how easy it makes turning plushy pieces. Because I had my keyring inside while stitching, I want to go ahead and pull it out first to get it out of the way of pulling the fabric out. After all the corners are pushed out, it's time for stuffing. In the end, you can take some needle and thread and close the opening with the ladder stitch. There we go, the charm is finished. And what's left now is to cut some loose threads and clean up the design. Yay, you are all finished! Thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to my lovely patrons. As I mentioned before, you can apply this tutorial to any of my charms or even in the hoop plushie patterns to make some really cool stuff into keychains. Happy stitching and see you next time!